Alright everyone, this is a fairly big free speech internet story here that like a half a dozen people actually messaged me over the course of the last 24 hours. It's when you know that people want you to weigh in on something. Poland, actually, the nation of Poland is taking a tentative and symbolic, yes, but important first step in the fight for online free speech, which is that in many countries they're trying to go after tech firms that platform people with edgy opinions. There are constant attacks on free expression on the internet, and the liberals are the ones spearheading that charge, and they've forgotten that they're supposed to not believe in fascism, but now they want multi-billionaires to burn books and stuff, and it makes them feel comfy because they're all a bunch of fucking sadomasochists. Ted Kaczynski had some things to say about their basic underlying psychology that I hate to praise something that he wrote, but I think he might have been right on that one particular thing. Anyway, what their new proposal would do, and it would probably set up a court to administer this, is that for firms that begin to deplatform and purge material that otherwise conforms to Polish law, and as you're not inciting violence, you're not defaming people, copyright and stuff, basically illegal things, and rather similar in the sense of Polish law, I believe, to U.S. standards and other Western countries, it would allow them to be fined. Now, this is very tentative. It's not even, official yet. That's number one. It probably will become, if any nation's going to do it, it'd be like Poland, Hungary, or something. If you like free speech, I guess Eastern Europe and Southeast Asia are the places to be. This is really strange. The place that used to be run by communists and the place that dabbles with tin horn dictatorship, banana republic-style economics, those are the zones of freest speech. And Brazil. Never would have guessed it in a million years. The land of the free, meanwhile, is literally trying to let Google run roughshod and Zuckerberg run roughshod over every small internet site and person in the entire world with manipulation of various kinds, to the point where even like the most jaded neoliberals in Congress are thinking about antitrust. What this would do is it would fine these companies. The problem is, does Poland have the jurisdiction necessary to fine a company in the United States? No. It could make a case. You could try to arbitrate it before some globalistic world court. Would you be successful? No. And the problem is that it would countermand laws that compete from other parts of Europe especially. For instance, a place like Germany, where you're not allowed to give your political opinion freely because you can be prosecuted if you offend somebody. This would be in contravention to the Polish law. You would then need to arbitrate on some level. And if the company at the end of the day is based in Poland, by and large Poland has jurisdiction. If it's based in Germany, Germany has jurisdiction. This is why Silicon Valley has generally, until the last few years, been a force for free speech. They're US based. And they just said, hey, we conform to the Constitution. We believe in free expression. They still pretend to, but they don't really. And they didn't really manipulate things. In fact, they repeatedly fought against other governments and against the U.S. government in some cases, SOPA, PIPA Act, and shit like that. They fought against censorship and spying and things like that up until 2016. I wonder what changed around that year. Yeah, and then they sold out, and now they're the bad guys. Google is no longer don't be evil. They removed the don't from it. This is a good first step, and if other countries begin replicating the idea, attempting to weaponize their national legal systems against anti-free speech bullshit, if enough nations do that, it'll push the issue. And what you could see is that if enough nations say, hey, we don't want you to algorithmically demote, we don't want you to censor people unless they're doing something that actually needs to be censored. Essentially, they're promulgating violence, they're recruiting for a militia or something, they're recruiting for ISIS. Otherwise, unless they're involved with that or some other crime, leave people alone and be a neutral carrier. One of the things that we have seen, and this is why this is at least significant as a first step, even if it is technically at the moment symbolic, China, greatest example. I strongly believe that the fact that firms in the U.S., Silicon Valley, the tech giants, want to do business in China is one of the main problems that's holding back the fight for liberty in the world. Because what's happened is that, let's say that I run Twitter, and I want to get in on the Chinese market. I want, Twitter to be available to users there. China will say, yeah, it'd be real lucrative. You'll have 100 million new users. Isn't that wonderful, all the money that you'll make? But you're going to have to censor things. So at first I tried to develop like a Chinese-style Twitter and deploy it there, and it's got censorship. But pretty soon, they've invested. I've got lots of Chinese money, and they say, well, We want you to censor criticism of the CCP on the mainline site too. Now, I got a choice to make. I got all this infrastructure. I've invested billions of dollars, maybe. I got tens of thousands of Chinese employees. I've got factories and offices and so forth. I've got all sorts of things in China. They're going to take it away from me and fucking nationalize it and just say, well, sorry for your loss. Or I can just play their game. We've seen this before with the NBA. When the NBA players praise China and stuff, when LeBron James says, oh, America's the problem, and then goes over and plays games in fucking Shanghai, there's a reason for that. It's all money. People want to get in on that huge market because China's a lot of people and now has a burgeoning middle and upper middle class that wants all the tech toys, and the U.S. firms want that money because that's what corporations want. And that's not a problem, by the way. It's a good thing. They should want to be capitalistic. The problem is they're not. They're corporate monopolies at this point. The U.S. government is essentially guaranteeing Silicon Valley-style corporate monopolies and companies that take taxpayer money by platforming U.S.-based goods and services and that do business with China and literally do the bidding of Beijing from time to time. I think that's inappropriate. If enough nations, therefore, decide to take this basic concept and say, no, we're going to insist that they not do this, that they not deplatform, that they not algorithmically manipulate, what happens? It's all about the money. If I'm Google, and I'm saying half of Eastern Europe is telling me they're either going to kick me out of the country or fine me to the tune of billions of dollars a year if I keep doing this, is it really worth it to kowtow to Beijing or to a bunch of social justice warriors if all of the money I'm saving in terms of not pissing off the pink-haired freaks, I'm losing in terms of having to fight constant Eastern European litigation? It's all about the money. No, it's not worth it. So maybe I take a hands-off approach. Maybe I said, well, I'm going to censor less because I keep having these fucking problems. The U.S. should do this. The U.S. should have a similar law. Why don't we weaponize our judiciary against companies that decide to do that? If they're meant to be a neutral carrier, a platform under 230, they don't need those protections if they're editorializing. I'm seeing that the tide is going to begin to turn. By the way, if you have a far-left administration, people's patience and tolerance for far-left style censorship will decrease. Because all the cool rebellious kids they'll be putting on Trump shirts or something like that. You watch, just wait and see. There's nothing new under the sun. Now, thank you, Poland. Now, make sure to get the rest of the, what's it called, the Visegrad group, I think it is. Get them to do the same thing. There's a lot of people in these countries. It's the total population, 150 million people or something. All of which, they want their smartphones, they want their Google and their Bing, they want their Twitter. Wow, that's a huge market there. That's a lot of people. Get as many countries and groups of people on board as possible, the U.S. states, provinces, whatever. Get people on board with this idea of punishing companies that step out of line. You want to make money? You want to be quasi-monopolistic? That's fine, as long as you're being a neutral carrier. If you want to be a platform, be a platform. You don't need to editorialize. So we can reverse all the damage China's done if we get more decisions like this. People should encourage their national governments. Why, the Brazilians out there, get Bolsonaro to do something like this. Brazil's a huge up-and-coming market. Huge land area, huge economy, one of the main players in the Western Hemisphere, in the Americas, the main player in South America, huge population. Why don't you get on board with this? Hell, Brazil alone would practically be a counterbalance to China since it's in BRICS. Maybe you can even lean on the Chinese government. Maybe we can get the Chinese communists. It'd be funny if, like, 10 years from now, the Chinese communists are less pro-censorship than D.C. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't even fucking be surprised. That's about all. Peace out.